Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we're going to be looking at some items from Blood Bowl as well as the new Dungeon Bowl. Currently, all three of these items that are currently in view are on pre-order. They will be available this coming Saturday, and they were provided by Games Workshop for the purpose of our review and sharing them with you folks. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead put Dungeon Bowl down. We're going to go over that one last. So first thing we're going to look at is the Goblin Pitch. So we have should be a double-sided pitch. On the back we see two different versions of the pitch, the regular Goblin Pitch and the flooded Goblin Pitch. So we're going to take a look at that. Now, the Goblin team has been around for a little while now. So personally kind of surprised that we haven't seen the pitch previously. My guess is that they didn't anticipate the team being popular and maybe it's doing really well. Not 100% certain there. They definitely don't share those decisions with me, but we can go ahead and dive right in. All right, so we have our two dugouts. Basically, one is flooded, one is not, to fit the view of whichever one you're using. Now, I always forget how big these boards actually are. So they're essentially 6 squares, so 3x2, and then almost lost this, and I believe the last time I looked at one of these I ended up knocking the camera off by letting that slip like that. So there is the flooded side, and then here is the regular side. Now personally I definitely prefer the flooded side as there's just a lot more character to it. I mean, we have limbs, blood mixed in with some of the flood water. Even in some of the flooded areas, we have parts of dead bodies kind of sticking out of the puddles. Now, one thing I thought was hilarious that I don't know that I've ever seen them do on one of the pitches before is in the bottom edge there's this skeleton here, and they actually drew the lines for the actual pitch around the skeleton instead of just moving it or drawing over it. So I mean, it doesn't really affect how that square plays, but just visually it definitely looks pretty cool. And then actually just notice that one of the puddles right here is in the shape of a body, so that means that somebody got trampled in the mud there, and it has since filled up with water. But a lot of detail in these boards. I absolutely love the way they look. I love the fact that, you know, by getting the different pitches, it gives you more areas to play your games. And now the only thing I dislike about them is the fact that when you have these two dugouts, they both are exactly the same. There's no variation, and it's the same on both sides. I mean, they do look pretty cool, but at the same time, though, it would definitely be better if each one was more unique. So that way, if you're using them for both teams, instead of having one team have their own dugout, then you're going to have it look the same. Then we do have the Goblin Dice. So let's go ahead and break that seal. we go. So we have our 5d6. 2 of them are numbered, and then the other 3 are your action dice. And then we have our d8, and then our d12, or actually, sorry, no, this is a, it looks like d16 rather. But with the d6s now, I know that we've mentioned this before when we were looking at the corn dice. There was a recent article for Warhammer Community that suggested that the dice, if you actually have themed dice for your army, you're more likely to have a successful roll, which implies that they could be weighted. Now, I highly doubt that they would do that in actuality. I think it's just more of a kind of a gimmick. You know, if you're wearing your team's colors, your team's going to do better type thing. So if you're using your team's dice, your team's going to do better type thing. So I think it's going to be more like that. But as I mentioned when we did the corn dice, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of these theme dice and then we're going to take some of the generic dice that come in the game itself, and then we're going to roll them against each other and see after, you know, a couple dozen rolls which one had a higher percentage of a good roll. Now, I suspect that they're going to be pretty comparable there. But until we actually start doing that and do the math on it, can't say with any certainty. Now, with Dungeon Bowl, this is, from what I understand, the second edition of Dungeon Bowl. Now, prior to this edition being announced, I had never heard of Dungeon Bowl. I never knew it was a thing. Basically, the gist of it is that you are playing in a dungeon and you are more or less playing a game of like a scavenger hunt. The first one to find the ball and score a touchdown with it wins the game. So once you get to that point, then the game's over. But you're dealing with traps. You're dealing with the other players as well. Now, the way this is set up is it's based on the different colleges of magic. So in here we have College of Fire versus the College of Shadow, and so the teams can actually be a mix and match of units across other Blood Bowl teams as well. Like as an example, you can use some of the new Khorne models that we actually recently unboxed and reviewed, or you can use any of the others and build for a specific college. So that means if you play Blood Bowl already and have more than one team, that means you're going to be able to have more options in your rosters and possibly some of the other colleges as well. So let's go ahead and get started. This is our generic kind of measuring devices for Blood Bowl, as well as I can't remember what this thing's for. I think it's more of a like a directional type thing for figuring out where things are going to go. And then we have this 8 direction where you'd roll, and then whatever number you got, that's the direction the ball or whatever was going. Now, for this, we do have our first unique sprue, and I suspect it's going to be our last. This has some chests, it has some portals, and then hidden in one of the chests is going to be the football, and you can actually see that in the chest itself. So once your guys get to that chest, then that means that they've got the ball, and now they're able to run with it. So for the College of Shadow, both of our sprues are purple. It is Dark Elves and Skaven. Now, I suspect that if I were to get a Skaven Blood Bowl team kit, that this sprue would match that exactly, just like this one would match the Dark Elf sprue. We have the themed coins for each one. We have the various models, full legs, arms, bodies, heads, all of that stuff, including the head, or sorry, the ball. Like now with this ball, it's actually an egg with a tail sticking out of it, which is pretty cool. Definitely like that. And then we have this other ball that's made out of like a lizard skin. Really like the look of that one. Now with these, there is a good amount of detail on each of these models, especially with the Dark Elves, where you have a lot of kind of lizard hide. So you see a lot of scales that are detailed there, in addition to just their kind of plate armor and their hair and things like that. And then with the Skaven, we have the kind of almost like scaled tails with cloth armor. You have a ball that looks like it's more of a bomb. It's got smoke coming out of it, holes in it for that smoke to be released. So definitely some cool models here. I like the helmets that you have for the Skaven heads as well. Definitely reminds me of some of the Storm Vermin. And of course for the other balls, those look less like bombs, so I'm guessing that this one that looks like a bomb is either more for aesthetics, or it's going to be kind of like a trap or a special play that you can run. And then for the College of Fire, we have the dwarf team or Fire Slayer team, and then the Maneater team. So with the dwarves, we have one is the Troll Slayer, and then I don't remember the rest, but lots of beards, lots of orange, lots of armor, nothing short of what I'd expect. Now I do, with this particular one, which I'm guessing is probably going to be the Slayer because he looks the coolest out of the group, has a really cool segmented spiked glove that he's wearing, which is definitely going to do some damage on the field. And then for the Maneater sprue, we have our three big bodies for the bruisers, and then it looks like in their hands they're also holding bear traps as well. So definitely I'm guessing that these guys are going to be used to lay down some of the traps, and then you're going to be kind of dealing with that mess while you play. Then we have our insert, which other than showing the cover of the box, on the back side does show some of the teams and pitches that you can get, like the Sevens, the Death Zone companion, and then as well as the main Blood Bowl game itself. We have our rule book and assembly guide that are sealed. Go ahead and take this insert out. Inside we have our bag of dice. Now these dice do look very similar to the ones that we had in the Goblin Dice set, so we'll probably be using these for that roll off. We have our bag of bases, each one is slotted, which, let's take a look. Now it looks like some of these bottles, not all of them, mostly the dwarves, and let's see, Skaven as well, but not so much the Dark Elves. So only some of the models have bases that are slotted, so you're definitely gonna have to cover up some of those gaps if you don't want them to be there. And then we have our tile set. Now Go ahead and open this next. All right. So we have our 2 dugouts, which are, okay, so these are different on both sides. So you actually have, regardless of which side you're doing, you know, there's some similarities, but they're not exactly the same. So some uniqueness there. And then these should also be able to be used for, you know, a normal game of Blood Bowl as well if you wanted. And then we have our various tiles. They are double-sided, so that way you can go with different themes. And so with these tiles, you can also use them for, you know, games like Cursed City, you know, Warhammer Quest, something like that, where you're using tiles to build up the map, so that way you can kind of make things a little more original. So you're not just reusing the same tiles every time, even though, you know, if you wanted to make them a similar shape, or sorry, use ones that's the same shape to replace others, just to kind of change things up, you know, kind of make it more fresh. Now, I do really like the quality of this book right here. For the official rules, it's very thick hardcover, and I do love a good hardcover rule book sitting on the shelf. And I mean, look at that production quality right there. I mean, that is phenomenal. Very, very bright and inviting. You know, you kind of want to you know, keep reading, keep looking at it, just to kind of see what else is there. I mean, we even have some fun, crazy art of, I'm guessing, some of the traps in that picture, you know, like with the dwarves as well. So definitely a lot to you know, grab your attention, you know, go through and read. Excuse me. So go ahead and get those out of the way. And here we have, looks like 2 duplicate cheat sheets, one for each player. You're going to have the more streamlined rules. And then we have our assembly guide, which is literally the front and back of one big sheet. So definitely liking the look of this game. Really looking forward to actually giving it a try. You know, as I mentioned, I'd never heard of Dungeon Bowl before, but from what I've read of the mechanics, it sounds very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to actually trying this out and seeing how it compares to, you know, other games of Blood Bowl. Now, I don't expect this to permanently replace Blood Bowl. I think this is kind of the equivalent of, like, this to Blood Bowl is like Kill Team to 40K. So, no, it's going to be a cool standalone game. I would not be surprised if we see some individual releases for, like, some model packs, like maybe a kit that gives you, you know, 2 sprues needed for, like, say, the College of Death, or something like that. So that definitely would be very cool. But I honestly don't think they're going to do that. Like, they might come out with some expansions that give you some different tiles or some different items to find during the map, but you're not gonna have. I would expect that we're not really gonna have, you know, those combined sprues like that when we already have the existing Blood Bowl teams out there. So unless there was like specific cards that you'd be getting to use with the team that would actually benefit the game. But I highly doubt that's going to happen. So that's just my assumption. I've not heard anything one way or the other from Games Workshop. But as far as that goes, thank you as always for watching. I do really appreciate everyone that has been commenting and watching the videos, and we really do appreciate it. Just wanted to say thank you again, and hope you all have a good night.